Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Digital Toolbox Podcast. My name is Enmanuel Tajada. I'm the host. I'm the owner of Landscape Maverick. We're a digital marketing agency for landscapers, hardscapers, concrete guys. Today I have a very, very special guest for you guys, a youngster from down in Georgia. We got Kahlan Epp in the house. Kahlan, introduce yourself, man.
It's Khalan, but that's okay. I'll let you.
There it is.
Let
I'm
you
sorry about
go through
that.
that. No problem. No problem. And thanks for having me on. It's definitely a cool opportunity. So I'm glad to be on, and I'm sure we got a lot to cover. So
Boom. Yes, sir. Yes, we do. Kahlan, right away, tell us, how old are you, bro?
I'm 22. Yes, sir.
22. Anybody that's listening in and they're looking at the video, this guy does not look 22. This guy looks at least like 25, 26. But this guy's doing amazing things. So I'm really happy to have you on, Kahlan, for real, bro. Because yeah, bro, like you're a youngster, you're killing it. You got a good head on your shoulders, bro. You're humble. I like that, bro. So, dude, for anybody that doesn't know who you are, who is Kahlan and who was he in high school?
So in high school, I was just not the quietest. I definitely like to talk to people. I was really diligent with my grades and everything. That was always important to me. I wanted to go on the college path. I have 4 older sisters that went that way, and so I was going to follow in their footsteps. And then in high school, I went to a private school, so I would just work, cut grass on the days that I wasn't at school, and just worked hard and had fun while I was doing it.
That's awesome, man. And what's your background like? I mean, were your parents kind of like middle class, upper class, lower class?
I would say just completely average middle class. We lived in a nice, quiet neighborhood. Pretty average house. We didn't struggle at all, but I would say, we weren't, going on vacation every week either. So, but it was a
Gotcha.
good place to grow up in for sure. So,
Dude, yeah. And what part of Georgia are you from, by the way?
so I'm in Woodstock, Georgia, or right on the edge of Ackworth and Woodstock. So that's going to be about 40 minutes north of Atlanta. So it's a great area. Very like compared to when I started versus now, it's grown like crazy, and it's just continuing to grow. It's a good market for sure.
Yeah, I was in Georgia actually recently with one of my friends. He lives in McDonough, Georgia. And same thing's happening there, bro. A lot of people are going to Georgia, Florida. They're crushing it right now.
Yeah, it's a great space to be in right now.
By the way, Khalan, wasn't there like a famous concert in Woodstock or something like that? Is that where that was in Georgia?
We so in downtown Woodstock, we have like a really nice amphitheater that they installed like probably 3 or 4 years ago, and we have a ton of concerts. So I'm not sure particularly. I'm not a big concert guy, so I don't follow it. But I know we have there's like a summer series of concerts, and so we bring people in all the time for Woodstock.
Got you. That's awesome, bro. That's awesome. I was thinking more of like, I think there was like something called Woodstock like a long ass time, like 40 years ago or something. But who knows? I mean, we're like I'm 24, you're 22. We don't know anything about that. But
little before my time.
Yeah. Same here. But damn, Kahlan. So tell me, man. So you're the owner of Kalkare Landscaping, bro. So tell me a little bit about that. How did you start this company? What was it like coming up for you?
I think it's just the age old story, kid in the neighborhood cutting lawns, and I started out. The first job I ever remember doing was after my dad would cut the grass, I would go and blow out all the edges, so there's no clippings in them, so everything looked clean and crisp. And then I just learned how to cut grass when I was probably 11 or 12, somewhere around there. And classic story, neighbor asked me, and then their neighbor asked me, and then by the time I was 15, 16, I had probably a quarter of the neighborhood, small neighborhood. So I probably had like 20 or 30 houses, and we would cut grass. I hired a buddy in high school, best friend, and we would just cut grass for like 3 days a week. And then we would do mulch jobs occasionally, on the weekends or whatever. So, and then from there, I was going to just do it for fun. And I decided to make a career out of it. And when I turned 18, I actually set the business up legally, and we went from there. I graduated. I think that was around COVID time. Yeah, that was COVID time in 2020. So I remember I had like a couple classes left, and I was cutting grass with earbuds in. There wasn't AirPods back then, or I didn't have them back then. So it was just the regular corded earbuds, and I would stop the mower, and peep into the class, and say a comment or whatever. And then, we'd just be cutting grass all summer. And then when I graduated, I just did it full time. And I moved out like a week later after I graduated. And so we just hit the ground running. I mean, we went crazy. And so we had like 3 days of mowing, and then we would just pick up projects, little side jobs, little mulch jobs, whatever we could, whatever we knew how to do, and some things that we didn't know how to do, we figured it out from there. So
Dude, that's
yeah,
awesome. One thing I want to touch on right now is you said you were taking your Zoom classes while
yeah,
mowing lawns.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
That's
I had
legendary.
an English class and a math class. So I would do the English class, and then I would try to sit in the truck for the math class. But yeah, those are the two classes I had left, and I don't think they knew. Maybe they did, but they didn't say anything, so I got away with it.
Bro, that's fucking hilarious, bro. I've never heard of that before. That's awesome.
Yeah,
But that's a good
yeah,
way to make use of it because motherfuckers, I remember I was in college at the time. I think I was doing my second year of college because I only have my associates. This dude playing video games on the camera. Like, dude, at least like turn the camera off or something. This
yeah,
motherfucker was
yeah,
just playing video games.
yeah, yeah.
But damn, that's awesome, bro. So you were doing small jobs, you know, cutting grass, edging, blowing, couple mulch jobs. Did you ever do any sod at that time?
I remember doing like our first ever saw job, and I started out with the F-150 that I had saved up like 10K from just cutting grass, and somebody gave
Wow.
me a trailer, which was super cool. It was like a present from a family friend, and they like wrapped it for me and everything. It was really cool, really neat. And then I obviously had the equipment. Just I had like shovels, and I had a nice mower, and I had a couple other things I'd bought over the years. And I remember doing our first sod job, and I'm ashamed to say that sod probably didn't live. We put Bermuda in the shade, but the client was super cool about it, and they ended up selling the house anyways. But I remember that was our first sod job, and we rented a little mini skid steer, and we had no idea what we were doing. I mean, I'll be the first to say it. We did a really nice job, but we had no idea what we were doing.
Dude, I
So
got you, bro.
yeah,
I've got you. I've been there, not in lawn care, but I've been there in my life, just figuring it the fuck out as we go, bro. But that's awesome that you guys did
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And so how come the grass didn't live? I mean, did you guys put irrigation down too, or what?
No, it's just like we put Bermuda in the shade, and it only got probably like 4 or 5 hours of sun, and needs 5 to 6 plus, more
Whoa.
the better. So the client was cool about it though. It lived for like a couple of years, but
Got you. Damn,
yeah,
that's an awesome story right there. So that was the first time you guys ever put down sod, and the first time you guys ever rented like a little skid steer.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Dude, that's
We were
awesome, man.
just kids out there, and we tried to act professional, and we're definitely a lot more professional now. But back then, it was just figuring it out, and that's kind of one avenue to go, and I guess another avenue would be go work for somebody and learn there. I chose to just dive right in. So
Dive right in, dude. I love it, man. And so how did you guys go from taking on those slightly bigger jobs where you got to rent some equipment? How did you guys get to where you guys are today, dude? Because I saw your Instagram and it's what made me reach out to you, bro. You guys are doing some amazing work, like amazing, bro, breathtaking. So how did you guys get to that point?
I think the one thing I would say just is time. Just we didn't get there overnight. We didn't go from doing that first sod job all the way up to doing beautiful pavers and boulder walls and retaining walls and all that stuff. We didn't go straight to that sexy stuff. It was just a period of time over 4 years. We've been in business for 4 years, and we
Mhm.
just slowly scaled up the size of our projects as our knowledge grew, and as our rapport grew, and as our reputation grew. It was just time, and it gave a chance for our team, because we're all young guys, to you know gain the knowledge, gain the fundamentals. Because when you get into hardscapes, it's not just YouTube videos. There's fundamentals of engineering that goes on with modular block walls and step treads and how to
Yeah.
design pavers, and there's a lot that goes into it. And I think that that's important to recognize. There's some jobs that I bid on along the way, 100%, that were just way over my head. And at the time, I was a little bummed that we didn't close those jobs, but it was a blessing, because there's a chance where I could have closed a huge job and it would have put us out of business, because we didn't have the knowledge, we didn't have the fundamentals, and our team couldn't execute
Wow.
upon it, which is important to realize.
Dude, and you're 1,000% right, bro. Because and I wouldn't say it's easy, but I would say it's doable for somebody that is not as experienced to put up like a retaining wall or boulder wall and make it look good. But is the foundation strong, or is it gonna fail in 5 years? Is it gonna fall? Like there's a lot of things that can go wrong if it's not done properly. And that kind of leads me to my next question. So how did you guys learn how to do all these bigger projects? as you guys went up?
I think it was just connections in the industry. I think that's the most important thing for me was understanding that a lot of these guys want to work together. They want to help the young guys coming up. And so reaching out to companies, there's one in particular that we're really good friends now. I called the owner and I said, hey, look, I'd love to take you to lunch one day. Love to, get to know what your company is doing that's making you guys successful. And just learning from him, asking questions, asking the people at the vendors, at the landscape supply centers, hey, a lot of those guys that work at those landscape centers have backgrounds in hardscape. They're around it every day. And then the biggest thing, and we can touch on this later, because one of the issues in the industry, I would say, is lack of education. And so we've leveraged. There's a program called Hardscape Mentor, and it's pretty new, but it is an amazing online course. And so we'll get the guys together on a morning for 2-3 hours, and we'll cover a particular project or topic and watch that video, and then we'll have a discussion like, hey, why is he doing it that way? How does that apply in our industry in the South versus in the North? And that's really helped our guys. It's just huge
Yeah.
learning how to do those things.
And you know what? That's somebody that I would love to have on the podcast eventually on as well, because I have been watching their content too. And you're absolutely right, bro. I don't know if it's Hardscape Mentor or there's another guy like Hardscape University. I don't know
There's
if
a
it's,
couple out there.
yeah, but I think they both preach similar things, which is doing things properly, like actually taking time to study. Because it's not just you're gonna go out in the field and learn it. Like, yeah, that's one way of learning it. But if you can sit down, kind of like you said the guys down classroom style kind of setting how you are right now with a little whiteboard in the back, you can get a lot further as far as like seeing the visual, seeing learning it that way instead of just touching it and trying to figure it out as you go. Because that there is more room for error that way.
It's huge, and when you're on site, it's just chaotic. You don't have time, and it's unprofessional, frankly. I mean, you're out
True.
there and
That's
you're
very
trying to
true.
teach guys how to do stuff. You're not. A lot of times, these clients are watching, whether they're out there, peering over your shoulder or looking out the window. It's just not a very professional setting to be teaching your guys to, your whole team. Maybe it's okay to teach one guy, but teach your whole team how to do something. And it's not scalable either. So, if I know everything about this project, and that means I have to be on site, that's not how you build and scale a company,
That's
which is
very true.
important to recognize. And so taking that time, in the classroom has been great, and it saves you money because, frankly, if you have a team that's going into the field blind that doesn't understand the fundamentals of pavers and how to install them correctly, and what the industry standard is for aggregates and base materials, then you're going to go in the field and you're going to make a bunch of mistakes. And then your clients are going to call you back. You're going to get a bad reputation, which is going to cost you money. And there's no telling how much money that's going to cost you. And you're going to have to go fix the mistake, which is going to be time and money not well spent. So,
Dude, 1,000%, bro. And I love the fact that you specifically, Khalan, you're talking about this because you're 22 and you're already doing the right thing. Most people would expect for the 22-year-old to be the one that's fucking up the most because, oh, he's young, he's reckless, he doesn't know what he's doing. But instead, it's the opposite. A lot of the guys in the industry are older, especially like twice the age as you are, and they're they're fucking things up, and therefore their teams are fucking things up. So why do you think that there is that knowledge gap in landscaping, hardscaping? And what other things are you doing about it aside from sitting the guys down to talk
so I
about it?
think I think in terms of an industry problem, it's just I think a lot of people treat landscaping or hardscaping, less hardscaping because hardscaping is a little more professional, but I think people don't really take landscaping serious enough and treat it as a legitimate professional trade. And I think that is often an issue. The other thing is just time and money. It takes time and money to invest in your teams to get them educated. And you can hire people that already have the experience, and that does work. There is benefits to hiring younger guys and training them. You just have to be a little more patient. But in terms of industry, I would just say lack of learning for these young
In what
guys.
way?
And
Like, do you think that it's that somebody can go on Instagram and watch an influencer and then say, "Oh, I can go and plant that flower. I can go and plant, put down a boulder like that." Is that why?
well, I'm really glad you said that because that's huge. That's a huge reason why. I mean, Instagram and Facebook is covered with these beautiful hardscapes. Okay, personally, the
Right.
thing that attracted me to hardscapes was tier and grooves. Okay, He was doing just stunning work out in California.
100%.
And a lot of those influencers will make it seem way easier than it is. And I think that people get excited, which is great. I love getting more excitement and attention to the hardscape and landscape industry. And they think that they can go do it. And a lot of times they just don't understand that there's a lot more that goes in from engineering and design standpoint. And then they go out and do it, and then inevitably, things happen, and they're not as successful as they wanted to be. So,
Dude, yeah, I can see that. I can see a youngster. Taking on a project that's way over their head, and they say, "Okay, I'll figure it out," and then they're not prepared for it. They don't know how to prepare for it, and no matter how much somebody can help them, if it's just too much, it's too much. So, do you think that is something that the influencers are doing wrong because they're like? Do you think it's the influencers' fault, or is it the landscaper themselves, the young business owners' fault for not being educated enough?
I wouldn't say that it's anybody's fault particularly, especially not the influencer. I would just say that with anything on the internet, you have to take responsibility for, you know, looking at what's on the internet and then trying to apply that in real life. Um, I would say there's a lack of initiative on the owner's part or people that are going out. And I think that the way it's sold is like, hey, you can just hire people to do the work for you, which is great. But if you don't
Mhm.
understand the fundamentals, then you can't tell if they're doing it correctly. And so there's just a bottleneck of lack of information there. And so a lot of people the labor industry in general right now is just not very skilled. Like we have a lot of, and I'm not going to get political in any way, shape, or form, but I think that immigration is a problem because there's a lot of immigrants coming over right now that don't know what they're doing in terms of landscaping, and I think that they're just pretending like they know what they're doing and they're not. And so the labor market's flooded with a lot of unskilled labor. There's not a lot of craftsmen available, masons, people that know how to do pavers correctly, people that know how to build walls correctly. They all say they can, but I haven't seen a lot of people that really know. And I interview a lot of people to come work for us, and everybody says that they know how to build a retaining wall, but when you throw them in the field, they have no clue.
Wow. Wow. Man, that's interesting right there too. And you know what? On that same topic, dude, I mean, I know you said that a lot of you guys are young, right? How old are they, and what do their training like? Did they come in with experience, or did you have to train them from scratch?
Almost all my guys came in with zero experience. And that you have to be very, very patient as a leader and as the owner of a company. And you have to be willing to kind of nurture and build them up. And honestly, a lot of my guys started, when I started. And so we've grown together, which is cool because we've been able to see. I have 3 or 4 guys that have been with me since I've basically started a year after or so. And so we've been able to grow together because I didn't come into this business knowing everything at all, by any means. I just talked about earlier, I put Bermuda sod in the shade. So, so we've learned together, and so usually when we bring a new guy in now, we usually start them on our maintenance team, get them comfortable around equipment, get them used to the long days, and then inevitably they want to come and learn and do different things, and we switch them over into the hardscape install team. And then we start them out doing little stuff. They're not going to go straight to cutting pavers and installing pavers. But again, we throw them in the field. We teach them how to use the equipment. We teach them how to, properly do small stuff, how to install plants correctly, how to position plants, to where they look good from multiple views as you're walking up to the house, how to install step treads. And then compounding on that, we take them out of the field and into a classroom setting and teach them the fundamentals of, pavers, particularly modular block walls is another one we like to really, pound on a lot because there's a lot of liability with that one. And then boulder walls. And once they know those fundamentals, they can start applying them in the field, and then they can just grow from there.
Dude, that's awesome, bro. And I love the fact that you provide that kind of those stepping stones for them to grow into those bigger roles. And how does that look like, by the way? Like, can you give us, I know you mentioned that you have a kind of like a classroom style setting, but how does it look like when you put the guys together? Like, is it something you guys do every day? What do the guys think of it? Or are they like, fuck, another meeting? Or what's that like?
No, we try to. I mean, we don't do it crazy often. We try to do it like once a month, or especially if we have new people joining the team. And I just phrase it as like, "Hey, we're gonna go sit in AC. Okay, I get the guys breakfast. You know, if it's breakfast time, have some muffins there, have some drinks, and we provide notebooks and all the materials they need. We usually watch whatever lesson we're gonna watch, and then we'll have a discussion. Inevitably, they'll have questions, so we'll talk about those, and I have them take notes. And when we went through our paver section of the course, I had them, for their homework, I had them say, "Hey, over the next week, when we meet back here again, I want you to bring in a couple pictures of some pavers that you saw that were failed, and I want you to explain why they failed." And that way they can start really applying that knowledge instead of just taking notes and kind of death by PowerPoint style, but they get to take it outside right away and say, "Oh, wow, these papers look terrible. Why did they fail, and how can we make sure we don't do that?"
Dude, I think
So
that's fucking beautiful. Like both the fact that you're sending them down to train them like that, and also giving them the homework assignment, dude. I think that's freaking awesome, bro.
yeah,
Because, like you said, they don't just they don't just read why something would fail. They actually go and see, okay, so this is in real life. Okay, wow, that failed because of this. Or they probably put the wrong type of material down. This and that. That's fucking awesome, bro. That's out
and
of the box.
I think because they are young, they are more willing to sit in a classroom setting, because a lot of guys that are mature in the field and they've been in the industry for 10 or 20 years, it's going to be really tough to get them to come
Dude,
inside
yeah,
and sit down for an hour or 2 hours in a classroom and take notes. That's going to be
that is
really
true.
hard,
How old
so
is your
that's
oldest
something.
guy on the team?
So we have a pretty seasoned guy on our maintenance team, and
Mhm.
he is 55. Well, other than that, all the guys are no older than 25. So
25.
a
What
lot,
does
a
that
lot of
older
young
guy
guys.
think of that training? Does he attend or no? Because
He
that's
does not.
lawn
I mean,
care.
he strictly only wants to do maintenance,
Mm.
and take care of the properties. That's what he wants to do. That's what we hired him for. That's the role we brought him in, and he's really just interested in doing that. Um, so he doesn't really attend that. And then if you're on the maintenance team, we tend to kind of just separate that out and say, "Hey, if you're interested in joining the install team, then we'll plan that out. We'll get you a mentor to teach, managing the install team, and then once they're competent, we can move you out into the install team, and then move you up." And so right now, this year, we're getting an enhancement team off the ground right now as well. So enhancements being just light jobs, so mulch, pine straw, small sod jobs, small plant jobs, nothing hardscape related. And so they'll move from maintenance to light enhancement jobs, just like just mulch and stuff. And then from there, when they're ready to move on, they can go to the hardscape team and start working with pavers, uh, concrete, all that stuff. So
Dude, that's
that's kind of
awesome.
the way we've modeled it.
That's awesome. So you got that three-step process where you could bring anybody of any age and train them at each and every step, have them become the ultimate. Wow, man, that's awesome. And you know what? Let's stay on that same topic then, Cal. So how many you have three departments now, right? Three departments like lawn care, enhancements, and hardscaping. How do you run those? How do you keep everything organized by department? How do you find leads? How does that work to manage those three departments day to day?
Well, I don't mean to plug Jobber. I'm not sponsored by them, but Jobber is. I mean, I couldn't live without Jobber, and it's very popular in the industry. And we had it after year one. We used QuickBooks the first year, and then we just switched right over to Jobber. So I think that's the biggest thing in terms of just a database to put all the data from clients' information to quotes to invoicing to billing. And of course, we still leverage QuickBooks on the bookkeeping side. But I think one thing that my mentor originally taught me was you need to have somebody handling admin work. And I had a office manager from day one. And it's extremely helpful because my role right now is project manager, logistics, managing the team,
Sales.
teaching the team. Sales is a huge one. And sometimes mechanic too. We always have trucks break or something like that. That's just part of the game. And so adding admin on top of that and trying to answer the phone out in the field is just, it's not realistic. And there's been spans of times where we are in between office managers, or there was a time where I thought, well, I don't need an office manager. I'll just do it myself. bad idea. And so I think people are hesitant to hire an office manager because it's added overhead. They're not directly, adding to the revenue. So it's kind of a big step, but I think it's a vital step. And you could call 5 landscapers right now in your local area. None of them will answer your phone. So having that
Very
reliable,
true.
dependable person answering the phone and handling communication is huge. So that's one way we stay organized. Another way, we have a bookkeeper, full time. She takes care of our finances. And this might make us not as profitable, but I think it'll allow us to scale a lot easier and stay a lot more organized and not run into trouble. Because in business, you're going to have we just found a form the other day, a new form the government's requiring. And, my bookkeeper took care of that and we don't have to worry about it. And so that's important because I need to be focused on sales. My guys need to be focused on working, and my admin needs to be focused on dealing with the customers. So I think, and then also we've just put I'm sure other people have touched on this, but we've taken the attitude of putting our people first. And so we've understood that if we put our people first, then they're going to take care of our customers no matter what. And I'll say this, I've said it 1,000 times, but I'll say it again to everybody I talk to. Not a week goes by where I don't have a customer call me and say, you know what, your crew is just the most polite, respectful crew I've ever dealt with. And so that's important. And we've kind of gotten away from organization, but from a people perspective, we've really harped on that. We've tried to be the Chick-fil-A of the landscaping industry. And so our teams are taught when you're dealing with a client, it's yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, my pleasure when they say thank you. And I think that goes a long, long way. And then making sure that your guys speak English, or at least you have one guy speaking English on site. I hear that all the time. Yeah, our last lawn care provider, our last landscaper, there was just the communication was really tough, and they said they were going to do something and they didn't because there was a misunderstanding. And so I think that's important, and that's just the reality.
That's very true. I agree with that. Yeah, dude, and you said a lot there, man. And it that's like speaking for a lot of facts. And real quick, shout out to Benita. That's Benita. Is that her name of
Yeah.
your assistant?
Yep. She's
Yeah, dude.
great.
She actually hit me up yesterday before the podcast. She was like, "Hey, listen, what else do we need? What else do we need to be prepared?" And a lot of the times, it's quite rare actually, the number of times that an assistant emails me about the podcast asking if we should be ready, because that shows initiative. So I've had like 4 or 5 guys, and funny enough, those 5 guys are probably the most successful ones out of all the landscapers that I've had on. So it makes a lot of sense that you have somebody in that role. And like you said, it is tough for like a smaller landscaper to say, I don't need that. I want to cut costs. But if you want to scale, even though that person is not making you money, but they are saving you time and they're preventing you from losing money because they keep you organized. So I
Yeah.
think it's a good investment at one point too. And dude, one thing I want to ask you, Cal, is what's the right way for a young landscaper? They have their own business. They're maybe making, maybe they made their first 200K, 300K. What's the right way to transition from lawn care into enhancement into hardscaping? Like what type, like as far as projects? So you said, cutting lawns, edging, blowing, then you throw mulch. What else are the stepping stones as far as that they should follow with projects?
Yeah, not everybody's situation is different. So what worked for us was, obviously we started with one crew, with maintenance, and then we took on mulch jobs and cleanup jobs, or like putting down gravel, and then we transitioned into sod jobs. I remember that transition. I remember the first time we rented a full size skid steer, and it was like an 8 pallet job, and we thought we were, we thought we were the crap. And so we started doing more sod jobs. We started taking on more grading jobs now that we knew how to competently operate equipment. And I think from there, I remember we did step treads. Step treads is a good one, good project to get good at. It's very easy, very low liability. Just installing big 18x36 stone slabs. I remember the first time we did those. We did like probably 6 of them. And it was like, again, we thought we were so cool. It's cool to look back and and see how far we've come. And then from there, another good way, and I didn't touch on this before. Another good way is to subcontract things, and you can learn from your subs. You just have to make sure you hire good subs, because that is one thing. That's how we learned how to do concrete. Is we subcontracted out all our concrete, and I would oversee it. I knew the fundamentals of concrete, and I would just make sure the project ran smoothly, interact with the customer, handle all the communication. But that's how my guys learned how to do concrete, because I would throw my guys in there with them and say, hey, watch what they're doing. This is how they form. This is how they set grade. So hiring subs can be helpful as well. But again, that owner or your project manager or your foreman needs to have the fundamentals of what's being done, so that way if something's being done correctly. Because at the end of the day, if you're the contractor, it's your responsibility to make sure that that project is done up to your standards, up to the company standards.
1,000%, 1,000%. And what's your process like when you pick out a subcontractor? Is it for you to just go on Google and type in, concrete near me, or how does that work?
So I think the biggest thing is just word of mouth. Okay, so I have 1,000 connections in this industry, and so I just have to make a phone call and say, "Hey, who do you use? Who do you like?" And then from there, making sure that their values of the company match up with our values, and make sure I usually vet them in some sort of fashion. If they have social media, I'll vet them in that way. And then we'll go from there. And if they're a good fit, we'll try them out for a small job. And if they're a good fit, then we'll continue working with them. Normally, once we find somebody good, we're locked in with them. I'll never forget the first job we subcontracted. I did call this one on Google, because at the time it had no connections, and I just searched stump grinding, and Bubba Stump came up. And I was like, shout out Bubba Stump. But Bubba Stump came out. I was like, all right, well, this doesn't sound the most professional. But he came out. He was super professional. He had been doing it for like probably 10 or 15 years at the time. And we have never used a different stump grinding company since. And him and I have such a good relationship that when I bid these projects and I need stump grinding done, we don't exchange pricing. I know his pricing. He's fine. I give him whatever he wants. And he's the most professional subcontractor we've ever worked with. My guys now handle most of the interaction with him. And he's one of our best subs. And so picking out subs that you can have a long relationship with is super, super important.
Dude, that's awesome, bro. And nowadays, you probably don't, like you said, you have so many connections. You don't even take the risk of going on Google and finding somebody that's not going to do quality work. You just pick up the phone. Hey, so-and-so, do you know somebody that does this? And then you figure it out from there.
Yeah. And we have a list. We have a categorized list of all, everything from photography. We have a whole list of everybody. And so we have a list for us and we have a list for our clients, because at the end of the day, if we trust them, then our clients can trust them. And so it's been helpful to refer those subs, if we don't want to subcontract through them, straight to our clients. And we can trust that our clients are going to have a good experience like they would with us. And that's important,
that's awesome.
because that is a valuable service, and that's something we're going to build into our company in the future, is a referral program, because it's just so important to have good word of mouth. And what these homeowners are doing is they're going on Google, they're spending hours and hours and hours vetting these companies, looking at reviews. They're getting 3 or 4 estimates. They pick a company. It seems great. The salesperson is really good. And then the day comes for the install to happen or the service to happen, and the team gets there and they don't back up what the salesman says, and the customer ends up having a bad experience, no follow-up from the company. And so if we can help prevent that by using our contacts and sharing them with our current customers, that's a win-win for everybody.
That's a win-win, yeah. The client's going to be happy, the sub is going to be happy, and you're going to be happy because you don't have to deal with any headaches later on. Imagine you're they're calling in for some concrete or for plumbing or whatever, and they break some shit, and then now you have to deal with it too. But dude, 100%, and I love that you're sharing the game on that, man. And on that same topic, I mean, we talked a lot about a lot of the successes that you guys have had coming up with, taking on bigger projects as time goes on and having a solid system of guys. What are some of the bad moments, some of those scary, ugly moments that you guys have had, like some of the growing pains?
Yeah, there's been many. I remember a couple different categories, but one was just we hired the wrong people, and I had hired 2 guys that just, at the time, I'll plead that I was young and ignorant, but really I just made a bad decision as a leader and as an owner, and they just weren't the best guys. They're lazy, they didn't show up, and I put up with it for way too long, and I found that it made about 2 months of my life very, very not pleasant. And once we got rid of those people, life went back to being good. So that's one mistake we've made with growing pains wise, is hiring the wrong people. It's never fun. Another mistake, I got a couple written down here actually. I would say one is just not taking risks soon enough. And I want to preface this by saying, because a lot of influencers will push, go into debt, get that piece of equipment, just go for it. And I think that that can be very dangerous. And I think at the end of the day, as a leader and as somebody that's, you have people relying on you for paychecks, you have to be very careful about the risk you're taking on. But that being said, for us, I wish we would have taken on a little bit more of a risk, particularly in the equipment area, because we just bought a nice little mini skid this year. And I wish I would have done that, 2 years ago, maybe not right
Sorry,
after we
what
started, but
equipment was that?
it's a mini skid steer. It's a Bobcat MT100. It's industry standard, and I wish we would have bought that 2 years ago. We use it every single day, and it's just great. And so we would have been closer to getting that paid off and onto our next piece of equipment. So I would have taken a little bit more risks in the beginning. And then I have one story. We did a new development property. There's two houses right next to each other, and we took on this big project, and we just didn't have the labor to fulfill it. And there was a lot of late days I spent out there. We were doing things we'd never done before in amounts that we'd never done before. I mean, we were doing the most amount of sod we'd ever done at the time was 10 pallets, and we had to fulfill like 30 or 40 pallets between the two houses. Drainage, plant material, and working around new construction too was different, and we executed on it great, but just I think that was just a rough job for us, and there's been many more like it. But I think the important thing is just not quitting. You got to push through. You got to continue. You got to execute. You sign a contract that said you're going to do this work, and so you got to execute upon it. And I think that applies to just the service industry in general, because I have something that I was told, and I always tell people now, is like, never quit on a bad day. There was a couple moments in business where I was like, this is just not going to work. And I wanted to quit, and I had people around me that supported that decision, but I also had people around me that pushed me to continue going, and it worked out, and I think that you just have to keep pushing. And if, your interests change and you want to get out of business or you want to get out of the service industry, I think that you got to quit on a good day when things are going really good, not on a bad day.
I love that, bro. Never quit on a bad day. That's awesome. Yeah. Because most people would never quit on a good day. So it's probably because just the day is bad. That's why they want to quit.
Exactly.
So, dude, yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, I look back on those moments when I wanted to quit, when cash flow was bad, we had trucks breaking down, we had HR issues, and those were the moments I wanted to quit. But it was never like when we got a new piece of equipment or we're doing good jobs or our cash flow was good. I never wanted to quit then, so that kind of was a big awakening moment for me. It's like everything's we have challenges every day, but everything is going pretty good now, and I don't want to quit now, so. I just make sure I remember that when things are not going good, because there's going to be times when business is good and there's going to be times when business is really bad. So
that is very true. Never quit on a good day, dude. On a bad day, dude. I love that, man. I love that. And going back real quick on that project where you guys kind of overstretched yourselves, as far as, human resources go with the team. What did you do? Like, did the guys just have to stay a lot longer? Was it a lot more hours than you quoted out? Or how did you guys figure that part out?
it was a lot more hours, and you're dealing with sod, so there's time frames. You got to get that stuff down right away. This was in the dead of summer, and this was like a year after we started, and I hired a neighborhood kid, and he was probably 17 or 18 or 16 or 17, and he called all his friends, and I paid them all to work for me for like 3 days straight, and we got it done. And they were not the best workers, but we got it done. So
Dude, that's awesome, bro.
yeah.
You got it
So
done. And so how was it? Like, you had him and his friends. It was you and who else? Did you have other guys on the squad too, on the team?
I had a couple of my guys, and this was back in 2021 when labor was really in the service industry was really really tight. Like I could not find people to come work for me. It was actually crazy. And now
Whoa.
the economy has changed and people want to come work. But back then, I think I had a couple of my guys out there, um, but I couldn't let my maintenance team responsibilities not be fulfilled. So we had to get those yards done. And I think I couldn't get my guys to work on the weekends. They had things to do. And the other thing was it was an hour and a half. It was an hour and a half away. It was really far away.
Oh wow! So it was a far
So
project too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But we learned a lot and we got it done, and it was good when we got it done. So yeah.
100%, dude. I love it. I love it. And how did you guys land that job, by the way?
It was actually through a connection in the business. He subbed to us, and he knew a lot of builders. And he said, "Hey, are you interested in this job? This is how much it pays." I said, "Heck yeah, I'm interested." I went out there and looked at it, and I was like, "This is a lot," but I said, "All right, let's do it," and we did it. And maybe we weren't as profitable as we needed to be, but we gained that experience, and that's invaluable, to be honest.
That's awesome, bro. And have you ever had a time where you didn't turn a profit, like you underbid a job, or you had to come out of pocket with equipment or anything like that? Has that ever happened to you?
I don't think that we've ever had a job where I had to actually pay, to get the job done. But there's been times where we broke even or came very close to breaking even. And I'll tell you exactly when that happened. It's just jobs that you're not used to doing and they're on a bigger scale. Like at the time of bidding that job, those are usually the jobs that are the biggest you've ever done. And so you just don't have the foresight to see, okay, well, this part of the job is also going to require a new water line or drainage, or there's just things and variables that you don't see, and there's just problems that arise that you cannot predict because you don't have that experience. And so when you're bidding those bigger jobs, there's always some sort of unknowns. And so every our biggest job we've done is X amount. And so when we bid, let's just say 50 grand, so when we bid a $75,000 job, there's going to be, we can take the experience from a $50,000 job, but we've never done a $75,000 job before. So there's just going to be a learning curve there. So obviously we never plan on losing money, and we want to make a good profit, a healthy profit. But sometimes, you gotta learn those lessons the hard way.
100%, bro. And there's nothing like it. I mean, there's a lot of things that I go through as well in my agency, and it's like, fuck, bro. I wish I wasn't going through this right now, but it's like life, It's like if you don't go through those tough moments, you'll never know when you were happy. You'll never know how success feels. You'll never know how any of these other things feel. Plus, you would never learn the lesson. And that's probably the most important part, Like you got burned on those couple of jobs and you were like, fuck, I'm never letting that shit happen again. And I bet you haven't.
No. You definitely, once you learn those mistakes and you lose money on those mistakes, you almost never make those mistakes again. So, and your team never makes those mistakes again because they've learned. So yeah, it's important to try to not lose money. That's the idea. We're in business to make money, which I think a lot of times people forget. So
That's very true. That's what it's about. Yeah, that's why every business starts with that same objective. People try
and I
to,
would touch on
some people try. What's up?
a little bit is like that's one of my weaknesses as a leader is in the past I've been a
Hmm.
little too soft on change requests. I never want to come back to a customer after I send the quote and say, "Hey, we need more of this, we need more of that." And a lot of times it's not even that we didn't quote it right. It's just I think $500 worth of plants is going to make the job look perfect, and I'm a perfectionist. So I'll just be like, whatever it takes to get the job done, whatever we have to spend, whatever we have to do, whatever amount of time we have to spend here, we're getting it done perfect. And I think that having the humility to go to customers and say, "Hey, now that we've done this, we think that this would look really good here. This is the cost. If not, that's okay." And then going from there instead of just eating the cost all the time. And that's something that I've had to learn as a leader is being a little bit harder with the customer and saying like, "Hey, this costs a lot more money, but it would get the job done perfect." Um, so yeah.
Love it, dude. Love it, bro. Damn, bro. So that was really, really insightful, dude. I'm loving this so far. And I'd actually, if you were open to it, but I want to ask you a couple more questions more on the personal side. So like outside of landscaping, what do you do as far as, because you're a sharp young man, you look well dressed, you look fit. What do you do when you're not landscaping?
When I'm not working,
When not
I'm
working, yeah.
usually at the gym. That's a classic hobby of mine. I'm really strong Christian, so I'm going to church Wednesdays, Sundays, like clockwork. That's really important to me, and bringing it back into business. We usually start almost every morning with a prayer with the team. And I think that's just really important to keep God first at the center of the organization and at the center of my life. And I'm definitely not perfect at that by any means, but I definitely try. And so if I'm not at church and I'm not at the gym, I like to go. I like to do outdoor stuff. So I like to go rock climbing. Well, I like to do indoor rock climbing, but I like to run. I'm really big into fitness, and so I got a couple good friends. So if I'm not hanging out with them, I'm usually doing something fitness related. So
At
yeah, or I'm at the beach. Love going to the beach.
the beach, bro. Is there a beach close to where you are in Georgia?
The beach I usually go to is probably 6 hours away. So I pop down there a couple times.
Are you
Yeah,
serious?
yeah, I pop down there a couple times a year. And then I'm not doing it right now, but I'd say about a year ago, I was working on getting my pilot's license as well. That's kind of on hold right now, just because I need a lot more time commitment to that to be successful at that. So that's on hold, but that's another interest of mine is aviation, and definitely a big goal to get that done at some
Dude,
point.
100%. I was gonna ask that too, because that's a very big thing. I don't know if there's a statistic, but what state has the most people that also fly planes, whether it's commercial or for personal? But I know in Georgia, there was a lot of homes with a hangar right next to the house, or like a runway right through a main town.
Yeah, we have one local here in Woodstock, and it's right off the main road, and there's probably 7 or 8 homes on it, and then there's a grass strip, and everybody has a hangar. It's pretty cool. Although I've literally never seen an airplane fly out from there, so I'm not sure if it's active or not, but it's there. It's pretty cool. There's airports everywhere around here, so
That's awesome. And what's your interest with that? Is it to fly your own personal plane, or do you want to do commercial? Or
actually, that was kind of, I don't really like plan Bs, but that was like one of those low times in business. I was like, man, I could just sell everything I have now and go be an airline pilot, just because I do love aviation. I've always loved it. Um, but I don't think I could work for somebody. I've never worked for somebody in my entire life. I've only ever done landscaping and only ever run my own business, even when I was a little kid. So, um, I think it'd just be more for personal use. When I have a family one day, I'll be able to, take them around, the country and visit different places. And I think it's just really neat to be able to fly an airplane.
I think
Um,
so too, bro. I think so
like
too.
I was gonna say, like everything, it's just I'm kind of an extremist, so I want to do everything like to the highest level. But I'll get my private license, and then I'll probably get my instrument rating because you can't not have an instrument rating. Instrument rating just allows you to fly in the clouds and fly off of vectors and stuff. And then from there, I can't stop there, so I'll probably have to get my multi-engine rating. So that's the goal. That's the dream. It's a very expensive hobby, so I'm saving up, and obviously I'll need to free up a little more of my time because at the time when I was doing that, I was only able to fly every other week, and the reality is you cannot learn how to fly every other week. You're just the cockpit's always foreign when you get in because there's 2 weeks of time in between each time you fly. You need to be flying at least twice a week, I'd say. And
Twice a week. Wow.
I have a lot of friends that are getting their pilot's license, and they're going. Both of the people I know, they're going to be airline pilots. But it's cool to watch them do it and be able to talk about it and stuff. So that's a big hobby
Dude,
of mine.
that's awesome, bro. I can definitely see you up in a plane, bro. I can see it happening.
Yeah.
And dude, I mean, let's get into this. Let's end it this way because I want to be respectful of your time as well. But let's say there's a young landscaper out there. He's trying to get a foot on his business. Maybe he's only doing lawn care. He wants to be doing big things like you're doing one day. What's one piece of advice you would give to yourself if you were to go back in time, or to give to that young landscaper to guide him down the right path?
I'd say a practical piece of information would be try to train your team and organize your company in a way that has systems that allow you to pull yourself out of the field the fastest. And understand that when you pull yourself out of the field, you're going to get a lot of judgment from your team at times because you're not getting as dirty all the time or you're not out there sweating all the time. But if you want to scale a company, you have got to build it in a way that has systems. You can leverage software like Jobber, but start creating a handbook that like, okay, this is the procedure. This is what the teams do every morning. This is, create those systems. That way you can try to pull yourself out of the business as fast as possible, or the business can, there's something called the fishing test. And they say your business is successful if you can go fishing for a week and it operates smoothly without you gone. And so I would say just systemize your business if you want to scale. Now, if you just want to run 2 crews and you want to like be more hands-on, I think that's a really cool way of doing it as well. And you can set yourself up really well that way as well. But personally, I want to scale a very big organization with a lot of different teams. And so systems and getting yourself out of the field, it took me 2.5 to 3 years to get myself out of the field. And I think knowing what I know now, I would have been able to do that within the first year. So, yeah.
Love it, bro. Systemizing.
And I do think, and I want to touch on being in the field. I think it was important for me to be in the field just because now I know what my teams are going through in the field. And I think as a leader, it's very important that you don't forget that and you make sure you respect your teams, because without them, the company is non-existent. And you can't execute. You can sell as much projects as you want, but if you can't execute them and you don't have that team, then
1,000%. And what about this, Cal? What if there's somebody that buys into a landscaping company? Maybe they have home services experience, maybe they don't. What would you recommend for somebody like that that's never been getting down and dirty in landscaping or hardscaping, but they just bought, the cars lined up, they were able to buy a company? What would you say to that person that doesn't know how to get down and dirty?
I don't have much experience in that area, but I will say I think that it's important that when you do due diligence in that company, that you make sure that they have really, really good leadership, because you're going to be relying on their leadership. And I think that if you are buying into a company and you want to go that route, you better be really, really good at running a business from a business fundamental standpoint. And then as long as you if you have good leadership, listen to them and don't just try to cut costs everywhere you can, because that's going to affect them and your people will probably leave. So
100%.
that's the only thing I could say on that.
Yeah, and I mean, winning over the team, not just, of course, paying them well too, but other small things, small gestures, buying them lunch, having conversations, knowing their name. Those things could probably go a long way as well.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. Well, Kyle, dude, I really appreciate having you on, bro. You're a legend, bro. I said, you're
great.
A clean cut dude, bro. Professional looking. By the way, are you a watch guy? Is that what is that, a Rolex?
No, this is a Seiko Pepsi. They call them Pepsis.
The Pepsi. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, I've got like 6 of these, so I have all different colors. I got one laying on the table over here.
Really? Yeah, I like it, man. It looks like a Rolex Submariner.
That's what it's modeled after. This is a Seiko Turtle. It's got little waves on the.
Oh, nice! It looks like an Omega almost
on the face. Yeah, I love them. They're super fun.
Are
They're cheap watches. Yeah, I have tons of them. Yeah,
dude,
me and my buddy got into them a couple years ago, and we like them. And it's my family likes to make fun of me because they're like, oh, it's a waste of money, but they hold their value, so you can sell them. And
that is true. Yeah, that is true. They do hold their value. What's your dream watch, or one of them?
I would say, classic Rolex. Yeah, I'd have to.
What type, or just overall general?
I haven't really done a lot of research on the different types of Rolexes, to be honest. But I don't know what the name is called, but there's one that is an oyster band, and the outside is gold, the inside is silver, and then it's got a navy face, and I think the bezel is gold as well. It's really nice. My barber has one, and I'm jealous. Every time I walk in, I'm so jealous of it.
Yeah, bro. I'm a big watch guy too, bro. In fact, crazy small little story. That was my first entrepreneurial venture, actually. It was during COVID. And in fact, this guy actually looks like you a little bit too, bro. Like from a physical and like a personality. His name is Anthony. What's his name? Anthony Furr. He's like a watch trader. But I got into it. I was like, dude, I kind of like watches. So when COVID started, I started flipping watches on eBay. Like I would buy it for 500, sell it for 600. And it was pretty cool. So I'm a watch guy too, bro. One of my dream watches is the Rolex. They call it a Smurf. It's it has both silver and gold, and it's a Submariner. So, dude, it's beautiful, bro. A blue dial, fucking beautiful.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? That I've watched there's a guy on TikTok that does watch negotiations, and it seems like a ruthless business. And the margins, they're arguing over a couple $100 on like a $40,000 watch, and it's just crazy to watch them go back and forth for 20 minutes on this watch over $100, and they're talking about $40,000 watch, but I guess the margins are so tight on them, You got to be ruthless.
That's true, yeah. You got to squeeze everything. Got to squeeze everything out of it, bro. But, dude, Cal, I really appreciate having you on, bro. How can the audience get in contact with you, whether it's somebody that lives in Georgia and they need your services, or a small landscaper that might need some advice, or somebody that's looking for work, how can they reach you?
So they can follow us on Instagram and message us there, or Facebook. Instagram is going to be _underscore landscape, and then Facebook is just Kalkare Landscaping. And then you can also send us an email at kalkarelandscape@gmail.com, and we can help you out in any way we can.
Awesome. Guys, definitely give Cal a follow. Go support him. He's doing amazing things, and his kid's only 22 years old. I can see a lot of things in this guy's future. He's going to be an influencer in the space. Not an influencer, that's a wrong title, but somebody that holds a lot of authority because he's been through everything and he's doing it right. So give him a follow. Get in contact with him. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Peace.
Thank you.